Now you talk about access,
Alienation.
alienation, and authority. You sound like a preacher's kid with the three A's,
right.
alliterative.
Every preacher's kid loves the alliteration.
Yeah, 3-point alliterative sermon. But you talk about this early on in the book. The fact is, with access, this generation of young people have access to information and to a technological world that is unlike any generation of the past.
That's right. It's radical transparency. You know, they're fact-checking sermons, as I mentioned. With
That's scary for preachers, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they just absolutely believe that everything is accessible to them. And it's not just that they have information accessible or, you know, the accessibility of different worldviews or perspectives, but they actually, it's changing what they think they can make of the world. They think they can make a better movie. They think they can make better music than, you know, mainstream, industry. And so it's creating in them an appetite to do things with their tools and technologies.
But ironically, you know, in this social network generation, you talk about alienation. You know, somebody can have hundreds or thousands of friends on Facebook and be alienated at the same time.
Yeah, we interviewed a young person who, 12 years old, took a plane trip with a 25-year-old friend of ours. And after the plane trip, this 12-year-old said to the 25-year-old, she said, "I think you know me better than anybody else in the world." And you know, I think this idea of alienation, we're more relationally isolated. In some ways, we're more alienated from institutions, from media, from government. We're more skeptical of everything. And this is true not just of young people, it's true of all of us as, you know, North Americans. We're doubting Thomases. And so when we recognize that this generation, they don't want to be sold a bill of goods. They don't want to be told something that's slick and half-baked. They really want to see us living out the Christian life in ways that are true, even when we make mistakes, especially when we make mistakes, to be able to ring true and to be quick to confess those sins and to move on.
Now that attitude of not wanting to be sold a bill of goods, does it apply to pop culture? I mean, they follow celebrities who are vacuous and shallow. They buy stuff because J-Lo is wearing it. Or movies influence them profoundly. Do they have the same critical mindset with regard to pop culture as they do to the church?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. And that's what's so enculturating about our society today, is that they have so much access to media, and they are skeptical of celebrities. You do hear them talk about, you know, the shortcomings of these celebrities. It was funny. I was on the plane just a couple of days ago, and on the little screen it says, you can get internet access on the plane and keep up with all the latest celebrity news in case your favorite celebrity in the next 2 hours does something crazy. And so I think there is a bit of skepticism that comes just naturally to all of us as North Americans, but it also, I think, is true with this generation. But it seems as though they give much of pop culture a pass because they're so interested in it. It's such their language. And this is why I say pop culture in some ways has become their religion. It's become the place where they find meaning, purpose, stories that animate who they hope to be. We need to recognize that pop culture, movies, television, media, technology, it's become a huge shaper of who this generation is becoming.
I wonder if there's a general understanding of the word vicarious. They're living their lives in many ways through someone else's experience. What about the authority issue? You talk about it in the book. Expand on that a bit.
Well, there's skepticism of authority, again, of all sorts, and particularly the Christian narrative. And I think in Canada, you probably experience this more so than we do in the U.S., which is that there's a sense in which we're living in a post-Christian kind of nation. We're living in an era when Christianity, it resonates with us in the Christmas carols and sort of the backstory of our cultural heritage, but it doesn't apply to us here and now. And we found that as we interviewed young people, this is a shocking statistic, but 86% of young Protestants and 90% of young Catholics, 18 to 29, who grew up in a Christian background, said they had no idea how the Bible applied to their field of interest, their professional interests, their area of study. And so, this idea of authority is one in which we don't believe that Christianity, the historic aspects of Christianity, the truth of Scripture, the church, it doesn't matter to who we're becoming, the kind of lives we live, the work that we do. And that, to me, is a tragedy. We need to do a better job of helping them reconnect that.
I don't want to point a finger of blame here, but it seems to me that parents and pastors have dropped the ball. I mean, it seems to me that your number one educator is your mom and dad in terms of faith. And certainly the church has a significant role to play. They're underscoring what's going on in the home. But have we made too much of an appeal to numbers and not enough appeal to the quality of Christian education?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, one of the core critiques that we have in the book is that we've tried to mass-produce disciples, you know, try to churn out factory-made, you know, Christians, and you just can't do it. It's life on life. And yet at the same time, the encouragement to pastors and to parents is to recognize that young people are watching, they're listening, they want to see, you know, real-life Christians living out real-life situations. You know, the most important factor in a faith that lasts among young people is the faith of their parents. It's not automatic, and that's part of the story of exiles, frankly, is when you see Daniel or Esther, it wasn't automatically the faith conveyed when culture changes so much. And that's part of what we're living through, is such dramatic, compressed, accelerated cultural change that we have to recognize that sometimes the story of this generation, it may not be in our control. But the fact is that God is in control. He's writing the script for this next generation, and we have an opportunity to partner with Him in that process.
He certainly is, and as Jesus said, I will build my church and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. David Kinnaman, thanks for coming our way. You lost me, Why Young Christians Are Leaving Church and Rethinking Faith, published by whom?
Baker Books.
Baker Books. Great read, very informative. Thanks for coming our way.
Thanks, Jim.
Want to have you back sometime. We'll be back with more right after this.